Oh, there's such a cocktail of things here, it's hard to know which to choose from, to be honest with you. It's like lots of random thoughts somebody had about all things energy in Ireland and threw them down in emotion. I'm just going to go through a few of them. The first thing it says, to meet our demands for energy and the targets set out in the carbon budgets, Ireland needs to generate more electricity while also reducing carbon emissions. That's right. I think that doesn't leave any room for debate. Nobody's not saying that. While the Climate Action Plan 2021 does not list individual targets for each sector, it details emissions reductions that are needed for each sector of the economy. So, like, sectorial targets are being worked on as we speak, so I'm not sure why that's there. Ireland is very heavily reliant on fossil fuels. Approximately 85% of Ireland's energy needs come from fossil fuels. No idea where that figure came from. About half our energy needs are coming from sustainable and renewable energy sources. I just wonder where some of these figures come from. 70% of Ireland's electricity is supposed to come from renewables by 2030. It is expected that most of Ireland's energy will come from onshore and offshore wind fields as well as solar energy. Yes, that's good, and that's a good thing, and we're also hoping that 30% of that will be community-owned energy as well, which will be really positive. Data centres currently consume up to 11% of Ireland's electricity. I mean, I love this one. So just to break it down very clearly from the EPA, if you look at our energy and our carbon emissions, 37% comes from agriculture, 20% from transport, 12% from buildings, 15% from energy, and out of that 15%, 14% of that is data centres, which brings it down to 2.12%. So this thing about freaking out over data centres causing all the carbon emissions is just, somebody needs to go back and get a maths class on the basics of percentages and how they work, because it's completely not true. And if it was true, I'd be the first to object to data centres. It's just not true. I'll argue with anybody on facts. Research conducted by, oh yeah, then there's the whole nuclear thing. I mean, I actually thought that was a joke. Myself and colleagues of mine many years ago, when I would invite you over to Sellafield, Senator Keoghan, and come with me and meet the families I met when I went over there and listen to their stories about children with Down syndrome, 1 in 4 miscarriages, birth defects, mental health issues. Come to Sellafield with me, come and meet the people who live in Sellafield, come and look at that sea. All you'll see there is dead animals, nobody at the beach, but in the local hall you'll see a historic gallery of how the beach used to be before the Sellafield plant was built. Come to County Louth, up to the health board there, look at their stats and figures along the estuary there, issue because of nuclear waste. I know you're writing now, but I hope you're listening as well, because this is too serious an issue to be messing around with. Nuclear energy, I don't know if you remember Karen Sore Point, I wasn't even born, but to bring up nuclear again is just very, very dangerous. We have not figured out nuclear waste. They're dumping it into the Irish Sea. The last thing we need is to be dumping it into our own sea ourselves. It's bad enough that we have it happening in Sellafield and we can't do anything about it. But me and my colleagues went and we shut down Sellafield for a day because we did our proper research and proper inform on nuclear and waste management. It's not there. They're still dumping it all over Eastern Europe. Why aren't they taking nuclear waste and dealing with it in their own country if it's not a bad thing? Show me a nuclear power plant that's been dealt with properly and that's dealing with nuclear waste, and then we'll have a proper discussion on nuclear. Until then, it's absolutely dangerous to be toying with the notion. I think it's really important that we focus on real facts and real issues so that together as a House we can come together with solutions, because we all agree we do have a climate emergency, we do have an energy emergency, and let's focus on getting things done as opposed to throwing random muck that shouldn't even be there. And the other thing I'll just mention before I finish is to do with the turf thing. Nothing has been set in stone about how we're going to deal with turf, but we do need to deal with it. It is officially a smoky fuel. Unfortunately, we all want smoky coal to be banned. We cannot legally ban it without looking at the commercial selling of smoky turf as well. It's the only reason it's there. I mean, do you actually think that our thing is to sit around going, let's mess with the old people of rural Ireland and make sure they can never burn turf again? Like, nobody has that thought. The big thing is that we have air pollution issues. We have huge public health issues around smoky coal. And we saw the lives saved, over 350 a year, every year saved in Dublin, because they've got the ban since the 90s. We need it nationwide. We need you all to come to the table with the brilliant solutions you have to the alternatives to turf. But like simplifying it in this kind of populist, oh, ye want to lock away all the poor grannies of rural Ireland and everybody in rural Ireland is reliant on turf. I live in rural Ireland, we save a bit of turf, but like neither me or any of my neighbours are reliant completely 100% on turf. I don't believe that 20% of the population of the Midlands are relying on turf solely to heat their houses. I think it's an insult to the people of the Midlands.
They're the figures that are out there. They're the figures.
Most houses have immersions since the 70s. Most houses have immersions since the 70s or 80s. So it paints a funny picture of like the Midlands are all sitting around with turf and their only way of heating their homes. I do not believe it's 20%. And even if it is, we need to find solutions because unfortunately we cannot continue burning turf forever. Now those plants were closed down. That wasn't by the government either. That was by Board Namona. They chose to burn down, to shut down plants based
power stations.
Based on EU planning laws. They chose to shut them down.
No interruptions.
So I just think if we're going to have a debate on energy, because it's so important, and climate and fuels, let's look at solutions. We do need to move away, sadly, from burning turf long term. Like, we're not against people cutting turf. I'm going to be cutting turf this summer, and next summer, because I know the Green Party never said you couldn't. So let's talk truth, let's talk facts, and have a proper debate in this House. I'm sick of the twisting and the populist, the Greens want to ruin rural Ireland, when I live in rural Ireland, and the reason I'm in the Green Party is because they actually have the best policies for rural Ireland, but it's very hard to get the truth out with all the populist rhetoric that goes on here. Very well,